Welcome to the Chill Zone.
Help us celebrate you.
On the Chill Zone.
After Radio 107.6, if you're joining us, it's 9 minutes down the hour right here. My name is Danny Constant. I'm right here with Maria Macaulay. Welcome to your afternoon favorite show. We're here with your celebrities and your entrepreneurs and pretty much people that are of importance in the society. Today we're joined by a brother, a friend, a mentor, Mr. Taal. Some people call him Sal, some people call him Salieu. He writes Salieu, but some people say like Sal and he just answered. But good afternoon to you. Welcome to the Chill Zone, sir.
Good afternoon, Danny. Only thing that constant, Danny constant.
I mean,
Good afternoon, Salieu, and it's really a pleasure to have you on this very show.
Thank you very much, Mariam. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
I'm going to interview. I'm going to ask you.
Okay, let's do that. That should be fun. That should be fun.
I'm going to flip it.
Yeah, that should be fun. Okay.
This show is about, you said it's about entrepreneurs.
Yes,
celebrities.
Yes.
And I'm neither. So why am I here?
But you are one person that has caused the waves to change in Gambia. You have participated in the creation of a revolution in the Gambia, and it's only fair enough that you are celebrated. And you support a lot of young people, and we're also in a phase in Gambia where a lot of legal practitioners are coming up, and we need to understand the importance of it, especially also in our work as entertainers, as performers, and as young people.
I believe you have a lot of experience. You've been through a lot of journey that most young people haven't known about. And this platform is basically just to share that little journey with the wonderful listeners and, of course, the viewers now that we have, the social media page going on. But, you have a lot to share with young people. I mean, there are great stories that we know about that we're sure that today you're going to share about.
So let's start from the beginning. Do you mind telling us your age?
I am actually a youth boy.
I'm looking at Danny like, what?
No, because it's hard to have people to say their age because we'll be like, what?
I'm on the 4th floor.
You are?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I like that. So when he says he's on the 4th floor, yeah, we understand.
I don't look it right.
And then of course not.
Exactly.
No. You definitely don't look the point. But the name Salieu or Sal, which one do you go with? Because I remember the first time I met you, and someone's like, "Oh, that's Sal Taal." I was like, "Okay."
Sally is my government name.
Oh, your book name.
Exactly.
Okay. What was your nickname when you were a young man?
Saldu.
Saldu?
Yes.
Why?
Wagan, my contemporaries will know me as Saldu.
Okay.
Because I was actually kick-ass basketball player.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. So back in the days, there was a great basketball player called Bob McAdoo. So we we had a group called the Do Family. So we had Sal Do. All of us had a Do next to our name. So I was Sal Do.
So Wagan was Wagdu. Let me get live. That'd be funny. Wagan Do. Wagdu.
So you probably went to a school in Banjul as well.
Yes.
What school was that again?
I went to Methodist Primary School.
Wow.
In Dobson Street, and I went to Saints.
No, why?
So no, I didn't go to Marina.
Oh, yeah.
I went to Saints.
I was gonna be like, oh yes, are you a Marina boy as well? No. I don't
disrespect. I went to Saints.
Okay.
I'm a Saints boy.
Nice.
With pride.
Okay, but what was the difference in those days with Saints and the Saints of now? Because I know you must pretty much still have contact with the school authorities at this point.
I mean, Saints was a school for all the cool cats for sure. I mean, Saints was a school. We excelled academically, and when it comes to extracurricular activities, we were on top of the game. We're the only school up to now that had an indoor basketball court. We're the only school that had a school band. We're the only school that had a gymnastic team. And of course, all the ladies in the Gambia wanted to go out with the Saints boy because we're just cool like that. So school in Nongola, I mean, we work hard and we play hard.
Nice.
And it was a boys' school, so it was a life experience.
Now, when it comes to men, boys in Gambia, there's so much that we we're being blamed for, especially when it comes to the way women are being treated, and it somewhat somehow boils down to our upbringing. Because I feel like a man is who his father is. Do you believe in that?
Yeah, partly so. I think we are who our mother is, actually. I mean, I think.
Hey, Sibo, you hear that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Men are who their mother is.
Yes.
So if your mother is a violent woman, speak.
Hey, watch your words.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
So let's see.
you gotta respect the ladies.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
so-
I think most of us are who we are because of our mothers.
Okay.
With all due respect to our fathers, I always say that the women of today are lucky because they are not a tenth of our mothers, and I think we're better than our fathers in many ways.
True.
So I think we are who we are because of our mothers, mainly. Our fathers, of course, played a part, but we are molded by our mothers.
What has changed over the past few years as a young man, those days, going to school, growing up in Banjul, and now looking at the young people growing up? What has changed so much?
I think values.
Okay.
When we were growing up, we didn't want we were not looking for. We didn't want to be famous. We didn't want to have money. We just wanted to. We respected people who had values, people who are good at certain things. For example, when you actually sort of like chasing a girl, as an example. I don't know why you still use that term.
Yeah.
You actually do it on speech day, because
Wow.
yes, because in those days the smartest kids in the class had the best girls.
Wow.
So you had to wait that day that you go up and get a couple of prizes, and then after then you go and WhatsApp whoever it is. That's what we used to say, the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was important. It was very actually important to do well.
Okay.
To play hard. I mean, we were into break dancing and all that stuff.
Yes.
You see
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
moves.
Yes. Yeah. Ooh, no.
he got
He
moves.
still.
So
He still has the moves, though.
We did all that, but also after all the playing we did, it was important to do something with your life. So I mean, so Banjul was different then. Gambia was different then. We had a lot of different role models we look up to who worked hard and play hard, and life was simple. It was all, you were everybody's kid.
Yeah.
If you're walking around Banjul at a certain point in time, maybe you should be in Dara. Some old guys will see you and just literally pinch your ear until you go back home. Everybody was your parent. Everybody. You cannot insult in the street, or if you were there insult in front of adult, you cannot think about doing that. It was not thinkable. It was different.
And now a total stranger touches your girl or your son.
Hey.
Court is the next level.
Exactly.
Now,
a lot has changed.
now you see. I mean, Mariama has gone into court. You are a legal practitioner. You have your own firm, and we have seen that it's a trend as well in Gambia. Now, will I say that it's socially acceptable for a young person to either be a lawyer, a banker, probably a doctor, an architect, than any other work form in the society?
I think it should be a matter of choice.
Okay.
I mean, incidentally, I am an accidental lawyer. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I just became a lawyer accidentally because I wanted to be a diplomat, because my father, I was born into a diplomatic family, so I sort of lived in different countries from my early age on. So I always wanted to be a diplomat. But, somewhere down the line, I found myself doing law, and, it's been great.
So now we have a lot of lawyers. I feel like we have more lawyers than the law itself in Gambia. But is that a good thing or a bad thing? How beneficial is that?
I think it depends on the person.
Okay.
I always say that I don't want to be known as a lawyer. If I were to die, I don't want to be remembered as a lawyer. I want to be remembered as for the impact. There are a lot of people. When you think about Barack Obama, you don't think of a lawyer. When you think of Gandhi, you don't think of a lawyer. When you think of Nelson Mandela, you think of a lawyer. So for me, your profession is just a means to an end. It's a vehicle for you to do great things. So whether you're a lawyer, whether you are an accountant, whether you are an entertainer, I mean, you make a good living with dignity and you impact in society. For me, that is more important. I'm not so hung up about so-called prestigious or socially acceptable. I think there's nothing like such a socially acceptable profession. It's about you as an individual, your value. I don't like to be seen as the lawyer. I am who I am. I'm Salieu Taal. I'm not. I have law is what I practice.
Okay.
That's how I earn my living. But that doesn't define me at all.
Right.
But unfortunately, we live in a society where you're defined by a profession or what you have. And now it has gotten to a level that, okay, education is important. I keep advocating for people to get educated. The higher you get, the better, in fact. Go get that master's, go get that PhD or whatsoever that you can. But people need to understand that not everybody is meant to be there. We live in a society where some people are really talented and they're very skilled, and they're doing very well in those areas. We see the carpenters, we see the tailors, we see mechanics. We don't celebrate those people. We tend to focus more on people who earned their masters, their degrees, their doctorates, and this kind of creates a barrier between young people sometimes, or in fact the society that we live in. And it's making the other set of people feel that they're not validated, or their work is not important. It's the least important job that they have. What do you have to say about that?
I think as a human being, you don't need to be validated by anyone but yourself. And I believe that there's dignity in hard work, whatever it is, be it professional or be it anything else. I mean, there are a lot of highly successful people who haven't gone through formal or academic education. Don't get me wrong. I think we live in a knowledge economy.
True.
Yeah.
So it is important to have an education. But that's not the end all and be all of it. I mean, I would like to say that. I think it is. I think it's a mentality. It's a mentality problem we have. It's a complex, because you can have all the degrees in the world and have all the PhDs in the world. That does not necessarily make you the smartest guy in the world.
True.
Yeah. It doesn't make you successful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also boils down to what you define as success. For me, success is being able to touch hearts and minds. And you may be a successful lawyer. You may have a lot of money. You may have a big house. And for some people that's successful, but for me, those are just symbols.
Yeah.
There's more to life than that.
True.
And I think we need to instill in the young ones to pursue their dreams. I mean, let them do what they're good at and enjoy it. And also, I think in Africa we cannot just afford to be educated for educated's sake. We have to make an impact, because that's
what's needed, basically.
Because we live in a very, very poor continent. I mean, majority of Africans live on less than $1 a day.
True.
So it's a wide gap. So we need to really transform lives. We need to touch lives positively, and in any way you can touch lives, I think it's commendable. And there's no one way which is better than the other. It's just a choice you make,
That's
and where
right.
you find yourself.
Because I remember growing up, going to primary school, we had this neighbor that was very interesting. So he wanted his child to be like all the other bright kids. Unfortunately, the child wasn't, an A student.
Yes,
and the parent would always punish her and say, why can't you be like X daughter? Why can't you be like M's daughter? They're doing very well. They're coming out with A's in their classes. Why can't you do the same? You're going to the same school. You're in the same class. You're taught by the same teacher. But then now, when I look at this gentleman, I'm proud of him. He is having his own mechanic shop, and he's doing very well for himself. Unfortunately, that other side of education was not his area. But this is what parents need to also understand. They don't have to punish their children because they're not A students. And our educational system is in a way that it's not created or flexible for other students to excel. Unfortunately, if you're a slow learner, you're left behind all the time. People will move on and leave you there. They actually leave you repeating one class for 5 years before you graduate. You're already in your 20s or in your 50s.
That's not funny.
But because the thing is, I had a friend of mine. We went to grade 10 because I studied at St. Peter's. We went to grade 10 together. We left St. Peter's, and that dude was still in that school.
Yeah.
And
there's no support system in the schools for them.
And we, at the end of the day, we felt bad for him. He even had to drop out because he couldn't pass any of the grade. From grade 10, that's where he stayed, and he just stayed there for 3 years, and he got fed up, and we all were doing whatever, and he just also wanted to proceed. But that's crazy. Now, I'm going to ask you a little question about accents, the Gambian accent. If you hear Nigerians speak, it's like, yeah, this one is Nigerian. It's Ghanaian. The Ghanaian brothers are Liberians, but Gambians, because especially when we were talking to Auntie Janet some time back, and she was here, way before first regime and all of that before, and they speak of how the English was different from the English that we're speaking now, especially young Gambians. Now, what changed?
I think it's the quality of teaching.
Okay.
I mean, even in my time, which is way back. And by the way, I graduated from high school in 1990. So 85, I was in Form 1.
You're definitely a sweet 16.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think
Yes.
I remember
The seesaw sauce.
exactly.
Yes.
I remember my English teacher was a lady by the name of Mrs. Cisse.
Okay.
She was an Oxford graduate. I was taught by Mrs. Cisse. I was taught by Father Murphy, Irish priest. I was taught by Gabriel Roberts, who also taught my dad. I mean, these are so the standard was very high. There was pride in speaking good English. It was normal. It's not acceptable it wasn't acceptable to speak bad English. It was a whole different. We were like using brighter grammar. Today when you see me on Twitter, I'm always
Yes.
you see that. I have a little fetish for it. When I read the paper,
Yes.
I'm just itching. It's like
Yes.
when I'm sitting somewhere, I'm just itching.
You hear
Oh,
someone-
You can't do that. You can't say that.
True.
So it was a different. And at home, of course, depending. If you spoke badly, you'll be told you cannot say this. This is how you say it.
True.
So, it was very important to have the fundamentals right. English language, math. These are fundamentals in formal education. And there's nothing like, Gambian English or, the accent might be different.
Okay.
Elocution and all those things. But grammar, you have to get it right. You have to speak properly. It's very, very important. Especially if you want to be a lawyer or
Sure.
a broadcaster.
Yes.
But do you do that? Do you tell, when you hear people speak wrongly, do you tell them, oh no, this is how you need to do it?
Depends, and of course you have to be polite. This is
Okay.
People
Important,
People are
yes.
very sensitive.
Yeah.
In Twitter, I just put a little asterisk and said, typo.
Yes.
in a very nice way.
Yeah.
And if
They will get.
if I'm in, for example, in professional environments, and I hear somebody, I'll just call them up and say, you cannot say that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure. Because for us, that's what we went through. But unfortunately, the standards have gone so bad. I always say that my child and my son goes to Marina School, which is a private school. I went to public school. The standard we had in my day is much higher than
The standards they're currently having
Yeah,
in, pub-
exactly.
in private
school.
private schools.
That tells you. Sometimes, with respect, I look at the assignments.
True.
I spot grammatical errors.
Yeah.
He even spots them sometimes.
Yeah, that's the funny part.
That's something. That's
When
something
the
there.
students are actually seeing the problems themselves. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But he mentioned something very important. I think we're lucky we have Auntie Janet, who's
true.
still like that. When we are around her, we all make sure we're very careful how we pronounce and how we say stuff.
I remember when I started radio, and she will text me, and I had a problem with 3 and 3. Oh, she would call. She would send me a message. You didn't pronounce that right. It's 3, not 3. And then you say 3 when it's 3, not 3. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And we had the and that and all of those things, because you get to a certain point, the more you when I tell people that I learned the English language here in Gambia, they do not believe me, because it's exercise. It's just how you practice where you. You focus, and you put yourself down, and you just tell yourself, this is something I want to become. This is something that I want to excel in, and eventually no one would even put you. If I speak French, then it's something that's definitely something. But right here we have Mr. Salieu Taal, a legal practitioner, but also a humble gentleman.
Yeah.
But yeah, how's your Mandinka?
Domanding.
Imang hani feng moy.
Abang. Actually, my grandmother is actually Mandinka.
Oh,
You're really from Badibu?
Padusane. My father Sani.
Fadisana.
Her name is Father Sani.
Is she from Badibu?
Well, she's Tilibonk originally, but
Tilibonk.
yeah.
Okay,
Nice.
it's a good one. How important is the law to every individual?
I think we live in law. Basically, in sum or in summary, regulates our relationships.
Okay.
I mean, it creates the social order. There's a reason why cars are driving in a particular way.
True.
I mean, you need rules. There's a reason why. If you commit a crime, you have the police can arrest you. I mean, it basically regulates our behavior, socially, economically, politically. I mean, that's the
That's a basic. That's
yeah,
the.
I don't want.
That's a layman explanation of the importance of law.
I mean, it's basically. I mean, law is important in every aspect. When you're born, I mean, you have a birth certificate. That basically determines that you are now born in the country. Then you become a citizen. That's a legal definition. You have a passport. That's all those are they have legal implications that gives you rights and obligations. So even when you die, you have when you die, the law decides how your estate is managed.
True.
So it's.
So you have stuff like will and
wills, or or you can go to Sharia court and distribute your assets. If you're a Muslim, if you're a Christian, you have a will. So I mean, law is in every facet of our lives. In music, I mean, right now you're sitting here. I believe you have a contract with Afri itself.
True.
Exactly. So you're getting paid because you have a contract. You render a service, they pay you. That's law.
Now into entertainment. Especially young people in Gambia now. I mean, the love and the passion for entertainment and performing art is widely growing, and we're getting to a level where a lot of people are supposed to be paid for their work. And I remember in the beginning of the show, Mariam was talking about how a lot of people actually owe us, and it's a fight to get that money. Before you know what happened, you can't take them to the police station because most of them already have cases at the police station. Now, here comes the issue of actually having a lawyer. Now, how important is a lawyer in entertainment and or pretty much in performing art matters?
I think it's important to have at least access to legal advice.
Okay.
Lawyers are not cheap.
True.
So it's not very easy. When you're starting your career, it might be very expensive to retain a lawyer on a full-time basis. But if you have a lawyer friend, it helps.
True.
I mean,
that's why I'm coming to you. I'm definitely coming to you. You need to tell me how can I get, how can I get coverage? A little coverage.
I'm gonna have to charge you consultation fees. But anyway, I think I interact with different artists.
Okay.
I don't charge them. When artists come to me, I review their contracts and advise them how it's done and so on and so forth. I mean, I don't really charge for those kind of service because I feel like it's like giving back and helping them. True. And I always believe that any relationship you're going to start, a business relationship, music is a business. It's entertainment is a business. That's how you're making your living. True. You need to know what you're signing up to because you need to document all the terms of the contract, conditions. Who owns the song?
True.
Is it producer? Is it you, the artist? I mean, sometimes artists don't even realize they don't own the song. True. I mean, we have many cases.
Yep.
I don't want to get into the details of it, but I think nowadays content is king. I mean, content is going to be. I mean, it's very, very critical for artists to try as much as possible to own their content, and now artists have platforms to sell their music outside the conventional frameworks. So I mean, it will take time, and I think the bigger artists are they're more experienced and they're in a better position to negotiate better terms. But the younger artists, they're still struggling, and of course there tends to be exploitation at the lower level more than the higher level. But with time, and I think it's important that the artists organize themselves and start having standard contracts And of course, this is something that I'm willing to help.
Okay.
Well, it's unfortunate that most times when people hear about lawyers or hiring a lawyer or seeing a lawyer, they think it's when you're in trouble. The only time you're someone or charge, or that's the only time people think they need lawyers. But like you mentioned, on a daily basis with your work, before you get into something, you need to find out about the legalities on what you're getting yourself into, which is very important. And for most young people, we're just after that money, that cash. We're so eager to get ourselves the job or to get ourselves those gigs that we don't even think about the legalities that comes with it. And that's most of the time the problem. When you get yourself into issues, then you start saying, okay, now let me go get a lawyer and see how I can get myself out of this mess. So like you mentioned also, it is not cheap. It's very expensive to have your personal lawyer. I don't know how that works, but I know it's very expensive for you to have your own personal lawyer. But in terms of some of the legal issues that you've come across, what do you think are some of the most vulnerable problems or issues that young people get themselves into in legal matters?
Well, okay, I think that's it's in what aspect? Because I'm more of a transaction lawyer.
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't do that much of litigation. I don't. I go to court, but not as much.
Okay, now we have a lot of young people getting into
Yeah.
business, let's say entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Before they set up or start business with other people, what do you think are some of the vulnerable situations that they find themselves into?
I think when you're starting a business as a young person, I mean, you also need to know. You need to ask yourself what kind of legal entity you would like to create. Are you going to create a company? Are you going to be sole proprietorship, meaning you're working yourself with yourself, or are you going to be in a partnership with Danny, for example? If you're going to be in a partnership with Danny, you need to define your relationship, and these are legal documents. It's not just two friends doing business. Tomorrow they have a problem and they start discussing how do we share the money, who invested what, how do you value this person's contribution. I mean, you have tax obligations, for example, social security obligations. These are legal obligations that you have to fulfill, and these are legal issues. I mean, they may seem very complex, but sometimes, I I think the incubator center, the startup incubator. I used to work with them. I used to give them pro bono startup legal advice for young startups, just to give them the basics of starting a business, how to start a business, so that you can avoid all the cost, because you don't have to pay a lot once you're just guided. And I'm always willing to help young people, to guide them and at no cost.
I'm glad that you're opening up your doors to young people to give them advice, especially when it comes to legal matters. But how many others like yourself are willing to do this?
Well, I can only speak. I can speak for myself. I think there are many. It's just a question of orientation.
Okay.
I mean, there are other lawyers who actually also do give pro bono services. I know lawyers generally don't have a great reputation. We're known as sharks, all kinds of names, sharks and what have you. But we human also. I think we're pretty cool.
You're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now let me get into the Gambia Has Decided talk. Now, 2016, you were part of a group of young Gambians that spearheaded a revolution, basically, on social media that changed our lives forever. We're still on the process of this life change. But how has it affected you personally? Because I know, apart from just being on social media and advocating for change, you've had the chance to also travel out and meet a lot of people. But how's it changed you? How has the Gambia Has Decided brand changed you as an individual?
That's a difficult. I think it's one of the probably the single greatest experience I've had so far in my life. I think I remember I even called you.
Yes.
I remember because I think it was very beautiful that young Gambians at a very difficult time in our history decided to come together and to inspire the country to stick together and stand for what is right, because we have already decided to change the government. We want to change. So being part of that historic process, being one of the pioneers of the process, it really has changed my life in a very, very positive way.
How?
I think it has just given me more zeal to keep on to inspire and work with the young people.
Okay.
I think it has shown me and all Gambians that we are stronger together, because it was unthinkable for Gambians to do that when Yahya Jammeh was in power, because after all we've been around for so many years and we hardly open our mouths, including my good self. But something just struck me and others and said, look, we cannot let our country down. What do we tell our kids? That's when we said, look, let's do this, and we brought everybody together. And really, it's not we are just the conduit, but it's the Gambians. It's that spirit.
Now I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you feel like we are abusing the democracy that we claim to have as Gambians at this point?
No, I don't think so. I think it is we have a challenge.
Okay.
I always say that we have to unlearn the way of living in a dictatorship and learn how to live in a democracy, and that is a process. So this process is not easy. It's not easy. It's like from being in a coma, you wake up and like you're the zombie. You don't want to sleep anymore. So so it's a balancing exercise, and it will take time, because a lot of young people, who were born, between 94, they only knew how to live. They only knew dictatorship. Suddenly, they have this newfound freedom trust to them. So we need to teach and instill in them that democracy comes with rights, responsibilities, and obligation. Democracy doesn't mean you can do what you like.
But now, who is responsible for teaching young people this, or teaching the population this?
I think it's a collective exercise.
Okay.
I think you cannot. I think all of us have a responsibility to do this. I think, of course, if you look at the Constitution, I think the National Council for Civic Education are entrusted with the legal powers to teach civic responsibility to citizenry. But I'm involved as we speak. This is one of the things I do. I still do it, and there are a lot of civil society groups that are actually educating Gambians, or trying to help Gambians understand what it means to live in a democracy. For example, right now we are very active in the Constitution. I'm sure you see my
yes. The constitutional review that's currently going
there's a lot of heavy lifting that is not in the public domain, but there's a lot of work that's going on, building capacity with the young people. You had great groups like Activista. I don't know whether you heard about them. One of the great groups who are going out, and many other groups, peace ambassadors. So I think the young people of Gambia are really in the forefront of trying to change this narrative, trying to change the thinking. It's not going to be easy, but we have to do it, and it will take time.
But I think on the side of civic education, I think a lot needs to be done on the side of media, like to come out on the media and educate and create awareness on civic education, because I feel there's a lot of how am I even going to put this? Like, people are not aware of so many things, and they tend to think what they're doing is the right thing. People think they can just walk down the streets and start attacking each other in the name of freedom of expression, or my right or whatever, when actually you don't even know.
It's like, but it's not democracy.
People would do a trespass and would not even realize that it's a trespass, because they don't know what it is. So I think a lot of education needs to be done. Are you guys willing to come out on the media and do media campaigns?
Yeah, people are doing it, and I do my part, and there's a lot of things in the pipeline, particularly in the constitutional making process. I think we need more than just imparting knowledge. I think we need a change of mindset.
Okay.
And that's a long-term process because we need to change the culture, the thinking. We need to instill democratic culture, and that is like a marathon. That's not a sprint. I mean, you can teach someone this, you can do this, you can't do that. But democracy essentially means that, I mean, you respect all rights, even mine is right, even things that you don't right, you respect it.
Yeah.
True.
It's like really expanding that civic space and being tolerant. So that will take time to take root in Gambia, because sometimes people, when you criticize, they feel like they take it personal. But democracy means you have to listen to dissenting voices, even if they're inconvenient. But it comes with it. It comes with it. Sometimes it can be very painful to be criticized, but it comes with democracy, and we need to have that understanding that everybody has in democracy. As long as we are working within the framework of the law, we can have divergent opinions, divergent views.
Sure.
But in the name of democracy, as long as we don't harm each other, that's democracy.
Like you said, the mindset needs to change. I mean, I listen to certain people talk about, just trying to explain to people that dictatorship is wrong is now in fact a problem, because so many people think that, okay, we think dictatorship is what should have been here, like that is what works for Gambians. Cage them up, discipline them because they're talking too much, because they're making a lot of noise. Certain people still believe that is what is supposed to, like, what's a government or governing them for a better growth or a better country, that's what should work out. And then trying to explain to these people that dictatorship is not the right form of govern people is in fact difficult, because that's what they've known all their lives. Probably for 22 years you grew up in that kind of system, and now things have changed, you have more freedom, and they still want that kind of dictatorship. Why do you think people think that's the right form of governance?
I think dictatorship is not acceptable in any shape or form, as far as I am concerned, and I think it's sad, and it's also partly it's ignorance for anybody to even reminisce being in a dictatorship, because at the end of the day, you are the citizen, you are the one that gives the power to the government to govern you. So you cannot. They can only govern you in accordance with a constitution, accordance with the law. Dictatorship goes against that principle. So as a matter of principle, it's not the good way of governing, in my opinion. I mean, of course, absolute freedom also has consequences, But democracy strikes the balance. Like freedom of speech is not absolute. There are limitations.
True.
I mean, even
though it's called free. Freedom.
It's qualified. Even
Yes.
the right to assembly, to go and protest, you need a permit. There are limits. So there are limits. Democracy understands some of the potential adverse effects of it. So it actually sets limits. And it's a question of getting the balance right. I think because we've just been coming to 3 years of our democracy, of our nascent democracy. So we're still trying to find our feet, But we cannot, under any circumstances, even think of. I can't even understand how someone can think of
going back to
it's a non-starter for me. We just have to engage. Especially, I think, the press have a huge role to play to constantly hammer the message. Look at the way the press is operating in the Gambia. We have a free press. If you are censored, it's by choice, for sure. I was joking about it. I was like, one moment they're making fun of His Excellency's bow tie, and the next they had a show on QTV, a parody.
Yes.
I'm like, wow, can you imagine that in Gambia?
Sure.
That's democracy. And it's, with all due respect, but it's democracy. It's allowed.
It's allowed.
Yeah.
Now we have women that are taking key positions around the world. We currently saw the Ethiopians with their first female president. We have even a Somalian that is now in America. That's part of the Senate in America, and it's an amazing feeling. We have women that are actually they're being what's the word? They're actually being welcomed into politics in key positions, and I feel like it's one issue that we also have to address in Gambia. Just open avenues and allow women, give them the space to be able to lead as well. Because if they do, then well, we've been in power for too long as men, and nothing has really changed. So, do you think it will be a different? There will be any form of difference if women are actually empowered and given leadership roles?
Absolutely. I think we all know that they say when you educate a woman, you educate a nation.
Sure.
I mean, when you empower a woman, you empower a nation. I think what is happening in Ethiopia is just commendable.
Sure.
You know, and I mean, honestly, if you look at Gambia, women played a very, very big role in bringing about change.
Sure.
This change, I mean, if you look at the Kalama Revolution, those brave, gallant women, what they did.
Sure.
I mean, this were all catalysts. And I really believe that the women the space should be opened up more for women. We need more women to even in the political parties. I mean, we need more women at all levels, not only at the level of being accompanied with respect.
Of course.
I mean, they should be in the center of it. And I have to say that nobody, we cannot even say we have to open it for them. They are part of it.
They already
They
are.
are probably
They
the most
have
important.
We just need to empower them to
Yeah.
go higher than the level they are.
Well, I think women should just take charge. They have the
Okay.
capacity. They have the numbers. I think. I mean, if you look at the population, there are more women than men.
Sure.
Of course.
And if you look at the pattern of voting, more women actually vote than men. So women really have the capacity, they have the comportment to do great things. And
Sure.
and I think for me, I mean, there's no going back. This is the time for women to take charge.
Yeah, I think we had Dr. Aissatou Touré as the first female president candidate in the Gambia.
True.
And I'm looking forward to more female candidates next election, inshallah.
Are you going to be a political candidate? So
No.
will you own your own political party someday?
No.
Are you going to surprise us with that?
I enjoy politics. I
Okay.
love politics. I come from a political family.
Sure.
You know, I'm a citizen, and my party, I have a political party. It's called the Gambia.
Yes. Nice one.
Nice one, yeah.
You know, so I am not interested in partisan politics. I think there are bigger issues than partisan politics. Partisan politics, they can do the thing, but I think right now Gambia is on a trajectory where we have a lot of things to do. We need to transform this country.
Sure.
And I feel sometimes politics can be a distraction because politics, I mean, sort of hijacks the narrative, and it's like a football team. These are guys at Liverpool, these guys at Arsenal. That is it. You know? And I think we have a country to build, and I want to be part of that process of building Gambia for Gambians. I mean, and politics really is not my thing.
Well, before we actually leave, we really appreciate your moment, this time of entertainment with us right here on the Chill Zone. But like we would like to ask you this question: who would you recommend for us to have on the Chill Zone? Who next after you? Like, who else can we get? So we just like, yo, Mr. Salieu Taal said we should contact you. You will be able to come enjoy and chill and just share your experience with us.
Why don't you get a woman?
Yes, most definitely. Please recommend someone for us.
A young woman?
Okay, woman. What is this?
Fatim Baji.
Okay.
Oh, Fatim.
Okay. I like that. Fatim Baji. That is
Yeah.
that.
Let me ask you a question. Do you know edutainment, where it came from? The word edutainment.
I know it's basically a combination of education and entertainment.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know your hip hop history?
Well, I haven't really read deeply in it.
Have you heard of KRS-One?
No, you are old. But thank you so much.
It was lovely having you
Thank you.
here,
It's a great pleasure.
Mr. Taal. Thank you so much for your time. It was a great show.
Danny Constant right here with Mariam Makoni. We are the Chill Zone. Have a nice day.